You get them to do all the talking and all the deciding. And the whole idea of Ethics Day is to get them talking about ethical ideas. Now, I mean, it's not teaching them right and wrong. It's teaching them to use their faculties to make ethical decisions at the time that they are faced with them, which they're not faced with them on a day-to-day basis.
Audio Jungle.
Hello, and welcome to Business Focus, produced by the Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce. My name is Angela Inzarella with Impact Business Solutions, and I'm privileged to be a host as we highlight the great work our local businesses are doing. Well, welcome to today's show. If it's your first time or you're a fan and follow us, we'd love to make sure you subscribe, comment, share, like. We're really growing our YouTube channel, and we'd love you being a part of it. And I especially love today's guest, Mr. Matt Brennan with the Reston Law Group, an attorney who has been a part of the chamber for many, many years, maybe even a couple of decades, and actually one of my first friends with the chamber when I joined. Mr. Matt Brennan, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. Yeah, I think you might have been chair when I joined, and or when I got on the board when it was, right? Yeah, you've been around a long time. Yeah, so before we get into the fabulous discussion of Ethics Day, tell us a little bit about your history with the Reston Chamber and kind of what got you here and what you're doing now.
Well, my wife at the time, who's since deceased, and I went off on our own in 1995. We decided we were going to, go try and get clients from different places. He concentrated mostly on Vienna, and I concentrated on Reston. And so that's how I got involved with the Reston Chamber in 1995.
You guys were both lawyers?
Both
right?
of us were lawyers.
Yep.
Brennan and Waite was the name of our firm. She was the Waite of Brennan and Waite.
Yeah.
So that's the way we started out. And I've been a member. I mean, I looked around for a lot of different chambers, but the Reston Chamber was the warmest chamber and had the widest diversity of business people in it, which was great because then you have small, you have big, you have medium. Yeah. And, I did a little bit for big, but mostly small and medium business for many years. Yeah.
So were you like me when you joined, you kind of jumped in?
I did. I started.
Did you raise your hand? We always talk about when they ask questions, you're supposed to look down. And they're not looking at me. Don't call on me. I don't know if you were one of them.
I'm not. I started, on events. That's what I started.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did was Taste of Reston.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Yes.
It's no longer with us, but and so that and some other events, and it sort of blended once Tracy White, who was the CEO at the time, came up to me and said, "I really need you to be one of the lawyers on Ethics Day." I said, "What's Ethics Day?"
What's Ethics Day?
and so she got me involved. It was probably 96 or 97.
Oh my
when
gosh!
I first started with Ethics Day, and it has been around since 1992. It was started as a offshoot of the Character Counts program.
Okay.
In Reston by a longtime Restonian, Chuck Veach.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I didn't know what that Ethics Day was either. So when I joined the chamber, James and I joined in 2009. I think we got involved right away, either that year or the next year, as volunteers. So yeah, for those of the audience that may not be aware, at a high level, what is Ethics Day and what do we do with South Lakes High School? Because it's always been with South Lakes, correct?
It is the originator of the concept of Ethics Day is South Lakes High School since 92. So that makes many, many moons that it's been around, which is distressing to think that 92 is a long time ago. So a lot of what's going on here is an attempt to get messages into kids' heads. I've found from my time of doing it is you can talk to your blue in the face to kids, my own kids especially, but that doesn't have as much effect as if you have them talk.
Yeah.
They're willing to talk. They want to talk. So you get them to do all the talking and all the deciding. And the whole idea of Ethics Day is to get them talking about ethical ideas. Now, I mean, it's not teaching them right and wrong. It's teaching them to use their faculties to make ethical decisions, at the time that they are faced with them, which they're not faced with them on a day-to-day basis. So it's really just experience. The old litigator told me once, experience is what you wish you had while you're getting it. So
I love
it's,
that. No,
it's
I do. That's
yeah,
fabulous and so true. I mean, I think when we talk about the ethics day, and we'll talk a little bit more about the situations and
right,
the ethical conversations that are had, but as we've talked about before, it's not about the decision. Guilty, not guilty, yes, no, wrong, right. It's about how and why. Like, why did
yeah,
you come up with that? And I just love watching the wheels turn with these
right,
students. I mean, they're young adults. We can't call them kids, right? They're young
right.
adults. They're 18-year-olds old. So yeah, let's jump kind of in and be like, okay, ethics day, what is that? It's a day, you get out of school and you hang out with your friends. No. we have it's a process, it's in a program. So let's talk a little bit more about it.
And we try to keep them away from their friends. We have
Yes,
very cool ruses that we engage in to make sure that they don't get to do that, which they always try to do
of
anyway.
course. Yes.
But it's better if they're with people they don't really know as well. And because they can, they're not as peer group, overwhelmed as with their friends, because they want like their friends to like them and think
Oh
what
yeah,
they
of course. You're influenced. You're influenced by your friends. Of
do. So
course.
it's better to get them out of that. So, um, the logistics involved with this program are that we send buses over to South Lake High School and we grab the entire senior class. Now, usually prior to COVID, we would get somewhere in the neighborhood of 95% of the kids would
Yeah.
come.
Yeah.
There would be 4 or 5% that were sick or
Yep.
had some excuse that they couldn't go, but we get 95%. I'm not sure that we've gotten that in the last few years, but it will grow back again.
Absolutely. And
We're
you're
very
talking in the range, Matt, of 500 to 600 students, right? If you had everybody.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So we divide them into 3 groups. And then they're further divided down into tables. And usually those tables are 8 to 10 tables. And at each table, there's an adult who is a citizen or business person in the Reston area or someone that's just interested in Ethics Day. Um, so the adult is with these 8 to 10 kids all day. And they rotate through all 3 modules. And you just rotate from one to the other. And so that's the way it works. And those lunches thrown in. Not forget lunch. Everyone has to have lunch. And so that's sort of the logistical part of the way it works.
So the scenario is doing 3 and they're very, very impactful. So do we want to talk about the rooms, specifically the situations? Because I am telling you, like, they're phenomenal. They had me thinking when we were going through it as well, like even more so. Even I know you're supposed to get the kids to talk, which is what you do, but you're like, wow, this is really ethically challenging to have this kind of thought going through my head, even as a mature adult.
The best rooms don't give you an easy answer.
Right.
Okay. And they're designed not to. Now we have only 3. We used to have 4, and it's because of what rules the system, which are buses, and you
Right.
can only have so many buses.
Right. Right.
And if there's anyone that watches this program would like to get us back up to 4 and would like to fund buses, that would be great.
Sure. No, good point.
So because we used to have 4 and it was hour and a half longer than this one is. So it really 4 is, I think, the right number, but we don't have 4. We have 3. The first one I'll talk about is one that as I mentioned before, the courtroom trial, which
Yeah.
was my introduction to Ethics Day as one of the lawyers. Now, this is a trial that's presented before an actual Fairfax County judge
Hmm.
who actually is a graduate of South Lakes High School, and 2 lawyers. And the trial involves a young lady, 17 or 18. She was supposed to go out with her friend to study to do a term paper. The 2 of them were working on it. Well, the young lady,
Her
comes to
friend.
pick
Yep.
her up and says, "We're not going to do that. We're going to a party because there's a party over there." And so she said, "Well, we really can't do this. It'll just be a few minutes. Don't worry about it. Won't be any time at all." Well, they get to the party, and the other young lady starts drinking and dancing, as they say, and gets totally trashed and is actually passed out on the floor
Oh
at the
my gosh.
time they were
Okay.
all supposed to be leaving. Now, as you might suspect, this young lady, this is not the first time she ever got in trouble. So she was already in trouble with her parents, and they were threatening to pull her out of
That's right.
school, send her
Hmm.
to private school, maybe a nunnery. I don't know. Just do all kinds of bad things that this young girl didn't want to happen to her friend. So rather than calling her parents or calling the parents of the young lady who was drunk, or getting someone else, she decides she's going to try and get her home in her car, in the other lady's car. Um, well, that's a problem because she doesn't know how to drive,
Oh, she doesn't
and
have her license, right? Yeah.
she doesn't have a license, and worse than not having it, she doesn't know how to drive, and so she has difficulties from different little things, and she ends up crashing the car into a tree and killing her
Friend.
friend. So she's on trial now for negligent homicide, and they'll present all the evidence and listen to all the witnesses. It takes about 20 minutes for the trial to go through, and then each one of those tables that I told you before, 8 to 10, with an adult, each one of them sits as a jury. Okay, and you have to come up with a verdict. We used to actually have them come up with a verdict and a
Sentence.
sentence, but we decided we didn't want to do that anymore because
Yeah.
all the juries always gave them community service, and we didn't think that was appropriate, to tell you the truth. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's only guilty or not guilty, and then after they run through the trial and they go, and they have time to deliberate. The judge goes around and polls the juries, and at that time, tries to get their idea as to why they made that decision.
Well, each table, right? So I believe when I was a part of it, the table nominates someone to be the spokesperson.
Right, right.
And it's funny, in my experience, I've either seen the students go, "I'll do it," or some people will go, they point to that person, right? "Oh,
Yeah,
you'll do it," and then they do it. And by the way, they usually really want to do it. They like it. It's good. But anyway, there's a spokesperson that gets up and says, "This is
right,
what our decision was, and this is why." It wasn't
right.
just guilty. It was like whatever it was. Well, she didn't know how to drive. She was negligent. Blah blah. Or whatever their answer is. So that's a great scenario. And then I believe the judge then at the end says, "Hey, this was a case back in X, right? Isn't it usually replicate an actual case
Well, it
sometimes?"
was. This was originally written by Gail Carr, Judge
Okay.
Carr, who's a juvenile domestic relations judge, a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it was based on a case, but they changed the facts of the case. But the main facts, that the girl didn't know what she was doing and she
Yep.
ran into a tree and killed her, those were true.
Right.
Those happen.
Right.
And that does
So
happen all the time, actually.
that's an intense one. So that's one scenario. Then let's go into the heart. Is it the heart transplant
Well, I
room?
don't know. It's a heart transplant, which is, I think we call it the organ transplant
Organ
room.
transplant.
And in the organ transplant room, you are presented with 5 or 6 people. You have one heart. The thing is, time is
Of
they're
course.
bringing it in on a helicopter. We got one heart, and we have to figure out somebody we can put this in because it's not going to last forever. So these 5 or 6 people all have, from different socioeconomic statuses, all come and tell the class or the students why I should get the heart. Like
Yeah,
one
so
of
they're actors. They're actors from the
they're
community or students or what have you. Yeah, they're all actors. So you get, typical variation, like you said, age, sex, all of that kind of stuff.
right.
People, it's a really, again, it's interesting I
Yeah,
love the volunteers. They're fantastic. And the actors, and some of them, they're reading a script for the most part
right.
to just try to get across a specific reason why they deserve it. Whether it's one of the gentlemen is, he's a doctor or oncologist curing cancer, right? Then of course there's the student who has their whole life ahead of them, right? Then there's the
Right.
mom with the 5 kids. So it's
Right.
really
It's all
interesting.
different, and they all have a
Yeah.
different pitch, and then you have to, you have to evaluate their pitch. But when
Yeah.
you're evaluating their pitch, each table sits as a committee for determining who gets the heart, and that's the way it actually happens. Committees decide these things. They don't
Yep.
use they don't necessarily use these criteria, but we're assuming that everyone in this group is good for the heart. Most of what they talk about or deal with on these committees is the medical appropriateness,
Right.
whether it's going to
Right.
fit, whether it's going to whatever. But in this committee, we're dealing with the ethical parts. And so you have to use your values to determine why this person should or shouldn't get the heart.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
are those values? And so what I think we try and do is to draw that out from the people. Well, you say that Fred, who's the medical doctor, should get it. Why?
Why?
Because he's going to save a bunch of it. Well, yeah, but
Right.
what about her? She's got 5 kids. Who's going to take care of those kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like you have to go, well, it's not like any really difficult question. There's a lot of ways to go. And you're making your decision based on some ethical beliefs or values that you have. And it's good to evaluate. Well, is that the way I should really make this decision? If there's a limited resource, we have to decide who gets the resource.
Yep.
What are the values that we should be using to do that? And that's a clear, pure ethical decision right there.
And another very adult part of this is that they have to the table has to come up with a
You have to come up
consensus,
with a decision. You have to
one
make
decision, like they all have to agree.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that
Oh
that decision,
yeah, unanimous.
unanimous,
Right, exactly.
that,
So
and then again, present it to the group.
right,
The kids got a microphone and they're speaking. So it's really, I love the discussion on that one.
right,
So now the third one, this has changed over the years, right?
right,
As far as this room, and this is sponsored by, one of our biggest sponsors
right.
is
Yeah,
Leidos
correct.
Reston Community Center, but Leidos runs this room, right? The third room.
That's right. And the concept is the effect of AI. And so what they're going to do this year, they're going to present situations involving AI and get
Yep.
kids to evaluate what decision should be made. You're going to get a bunch of scenarios involving AI, and the kids have to come up and say, well, this is the right thing to do here, or this is not the right thing to do. So that's the basis of that one. And it's
I think last year with that room was based upon somebody sharing personal data, whether it was private picture or something like that with a friend, and then the friend further shared it. I think is actually something that someone said about a teacher bad, and then it got around and it was like, well, whose fault it is? Is it the originator who actually said it, even though they told their friend or whomever, hey, don't share this? So there's that level of privacy.
That was an actual case.
Yeah.
In Norfolk, actually, that happened. And then there's always the case of sharing someone's private, pictures and stuff around the internet. And what are the consequences? And a lot of young people don't realize the consequences of that. It's pretty amazing. And people have committed suicide based on that happening to them.
Yep.
Young people especially. So those are the three modules that we have, and we really think it's a very good way to interact and to have impact on the Reston community. And it's always been that for as long as we've done it.
And I think, like you said, there's a couple things that come out of it. It's getting the kids to talk. It's getting them to think.
Right.
And, we had, I think it's a mandatory event for the students, but last year it wasn't. So we had like a lot less students, and it really didn't matter. Like, as we've talked about, if you can impact one student, and I know in the organ transplant room, there's a story back that it changed, one of the students, so impacted them so much that they changed and became an organ donor. And unfortunately, not long after, at a young age, they died. And then their body,
oh my God,
because of that, they were able to save multiple lives, So we always say, if you can save one child or, young adult,
right.
impact. And I honestly believe you're impacting even more people in that room. You really are. Even the volunteers.
I've seen it over the years. That's why I keep on doing it.
Yeah.
Must be something to it.
Oh, it's working. The students love it. We love it. There's a new South Lakes High School principal that we're working with. And so the organization is moving along. And I know it's not all finalized. Like you said, you're working on it. So
Yeah.
it's always this year again, it's the Monday before Thanksgiving. So it's November 25th. Right now, the
Right.
chamber is taking, you can go on the website, restonchamber.org, taking volunteers. So we need, I think it's a minimum of 60 for the day to be these table leaders. I think, Matt, you're doing like a little bit of a orientation too for people, right?
Yeah, we'll give you training on how to do it and what's going to happen. And we'll give you actually the final version of
Okay,
that
good.
module. And
Excellent.
so, I mean, I believe it's on the 20th and 21st, but I'm not sure of that. But
Yeah,
it's
the
on,
Monday before, I was looking at the calendar, is the 25th. Yeah, the 25th of November
right. It's the
is,
20th.
oh, the
It's the
training.
week
Yes.
before
Yes. The
the
training is the
training.
week before. Yeah. Sorry. So,
So
and
if you
once you sign up, you'll get that opportunity to register.
right.
So again, it's a great thing for the students. What other impact, I think, for the community, right? I think this is just something that we want to do as it continues, but these are the leaders, right, these are future. So anyone who's
Well,
interested in, right, working with those that are impacting our workforce is a really great reason to be a part of this too.
and one thing I think that most people overlook is the impact of the adults that participate. You really demonstrate to the kids that you're voting with your feet, that you're willing to take the day off to spend time to talk to them. And that really has a great impact on the students, and it really makes them think about, well, maybe this is more important than I thought it was before. And so I think it's really rewarding to the students and to the adults that participate. You get a different idea of what the youth of America really is now, and it's good. Everything I've seen,
100%.
it's really good. So
And vice versa. I mean, I know I connected with a couple of students. I'm like, hey, you're going off to school. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to continue supporting you. So it's nice to know that the students, the majority of them, do appreciate the volunteers in the room and the adults and having these conversations, and then meeting some other students that
right,
it's a big class, so they don't necessarily know all
yeah.
of their fellow students. So great opportunity. Matt, I just want to thank you for all you do. You're co-chairing this year. I know you have in the past. It's a fantastic, we've got a great committee that's helping put this event on within the chamber. But if anyone wants to learn more, restonchamber.org. We'd love for more volunteers. If you're interested, share it. And thank you if you've already done it in the past. Thank you for your support. But Matt, you are just a staple in this event. So thank you for all that you do, not for just the chamber, but also for this event. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So thanks for being here today. And I look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Stay in touch with us for future episodes. Like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.